Welcome to The Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. The RCC Distinguished Canadian Retailer of the Year recognizes a retail leader who has led their company to outstanding business success and innovation and consistently demonstrated community commitment and support. The recipient is seen as a role model because of their exceptional leadership within the corporation, Canada's retail industry, and the community through personal and corporate philanthropic activities. In this episode, I'm thrilled to welcome back to the podcast Paul Wood, President and CEO, Giant Tiger, the 2022 Distinguished Canadian Retailer of the Year winner. Let's listen in now. Paul, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, Michael. Thank you for having me back. Glad to join you.
Well, yes, exactly. I should say this is your second time. The last time we were in person, where was it? In New York at the NRF show. That seems a little while ago. We've chatted in between, but it's great to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great to be back with you.
Congratulations. RCC Distinguished Retailer of the Year Award. Very, very, very excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Michael. It's certainly an honor to be recognized by the Retail Council and the industry in general in Canada, but absolutely a testament to the strength and success driven by the team that I'm privileged to lead on a daily basis. So certainly thanks to them.
Yeah, well, it's a long, great history of great leaders from all sorts of businesses. So once again, congratulations on that, and I'll be able to fet you, so to speak, in person on May 31st in Toronto at the awards. So once again, congratulations. All right, so we jumped right in. Let's talk for the folks who may not know of you or know enough about you. Give us a little bit of background about yourself and what you do for a living.
Sure. So I am currently president and CEO of Giant Tiger. I've been working at Giant Tiger now for 19 years. Time flies, certainly. My career began in the financial accounting world. I completed my Bachelor of Commerce at Carleton and articled and worked at one of the firms here in Ottawa. And Giant Tiger was a client of the firm at the time, and so not an atypical path for someone associated with a client account to be asked by the client eventually to come and join their team. And for me, while I enjoyed the time in the foundation in the public accounting world, and the learnings that I was able to gain there, it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue for the rest of my working career. And so the opportunity to get into industry and to be involved in supporting and running and leading the strategy of a business eventually was something I certainly wanted to pursue. And I'm thankful that the opportunity has materialized with Giant Tiger. I've been familiar with the brand for a lot of years. Grew up in small town Ontario in Smith Falls, and there was a Giant Tiger there that was part of the weekly shopping routine. And so, but didn't have any inkling in those days that I'd end up in the position I'm in at this point. But it's been quite a ride, and certainly see lots of forward opportunity for the company and the brand in this exciting world of retail that's ever changing and changing at a increasingly rapid pace.
Yeah, it's a lot of change in 19 years if we think about the retail landscape, and even if you think about the mass merchant landscape, so much change. Brands come and go, but Giant Tiger has been, what is it now, 61 years? Have I got that right?
That's correct, 61 years. We just celebrated our 61st anniversary at the beginning of May. And absolutely been a journey, continues to be a journey of growing up really for Giant Tiger from that humble beginnings of the initial store on George Street in the Byward Market in Ottawa. That location is still there. That's store number 1. And we've grown out over time from there. I think when I first began working as an external auditor to the company, there were about 87 stores in the mix back in that would have been late 90s. When I joined Giant Tiger in 2003, we were around 113 stores. And we are now at 264 and continuing to grow that number. So some pretty substantial growth over that 20-year period, but a lot of change and development and improvement as well, both in just the quality of merchandise, the breadth of our offering, but all while maintaining the price leadership position, the everyday low prices, and really sticking to our values of staying connected to our community and serving our customers in the best way possible, doing what's right for them and keeping things simple, making it easy and fun for them to shop smart and to save smart every day when they shop with Giant Tiger.
Well, I sure can testify to the brand's heritage. As you know, I grew up in Ottawa. I'm a Carleton alumni, so we'll have to tag Carleton in for this interview. And I know number one very well. But Giant Tiger, I grew up with the brand, so it's been fun to watch all the various people. In fact, I went to school with someone who at one point I think was the CEO there, Jeff York. So lots of fun, different connections. Now, we've touched on it a little bit, but for those who may not be familiar with the scope and the scale of the business, you've talked about how many stores there are. Is it purely at this point franchise, or is there a mix of franchise and corporate-owned stores? And talk about that for a little bit.
I like to say, if we stopped growing and people stopped growing older and retiring, eventually we would be fully franchised. And our franchise system is key to our success, we believe, certainly contributes to some of what makes us different. But at the same time, the model is a little bit atypical in that we don't market the franchises for sale on the open market. We're not looking for financial investment and people to buy franchises where we would have that initial transaction and kind of let things go off and be run according to a manual in kind of separation. It's certainly more of a business partnership that we enter into with capable retailers, capable merchants that demonstrate their ability to operate the Giant Tiger system, to lead in their communities, and we'll grant them a franchise for a very low nominal financial transaction, and they build their equity in over time. And so we do have certainly a mix of corporate-owned stores and franchise-owned stores in our mix, but that's simply a function of the life cycle and the churn of a retail business. We open a store corporately with a goal of converting that to be franchise-owned with a partner that we can work with well into the future. And our desire is they stay in that location or move to another location of their choice and have a long, prosperous career in that relationship with us. And at the end of the day, we buy it back and start the cycle over again, own it a couple of years as a corporate while someone gets their sea legs, so to speak, and then roll it on out again. So the mix of stores is more a function of just the life cycle and where a store is at in its history and where its leader is at in their career. And given our growth and given that churn, there's always a mixture. But the way the stores operate, the way we support and operate and work with the stores is consistent, irrespective of who technically owns it at any given point in time.
Right. And not to get too far into the weeds in this, because I'm sure some people are listening to this are thinking, man, this could be a great opportunity. At the end of your tenure, so to speak, as a franchisee, you can't sell that on. That goes back to corporate, right? When you decide that you've had a great career and it's time to wind it up, that goes back to you, so to speak, at corporate, right? It's not something that they can put on the market. So just to be 100% clear, right? Yeah,
they sell it back and it gets purchased, but we have first right of refusal on that buyback, and so we always exercise our right to buy our stores back and to roll them on to the next person, and that way we continue to grow and manage the brand and the direction and keep everyone aligned really to the values and the approach we take to the business.
Let's get into modern retail. I mean, we've just been through the COVID era. You and I have had the chance to speak a couple of times, at least during the COVID era, and different things, including with our friend Dave Poirier and all kinds of different things. Let's talk about the Giant Tiger playbook for the situation we're in now. We're in a post-ish COVID world. Supply chain disruptions, the global supply chain disruptions continue. They flare up. We've got disruptions in Europe. We've got war in Europe. We've got price inflation. How are you adjusting your mix in terms of how and where you source? Are you rethinking anything around supply chain in terms of lead times, or in terms of, maybe we should ask the vendors, and you have private labor yourself, maybe more continental strategies? How are you thinking about that at head office around what the world is today and what the world might be for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, great question. It's certainly a regular topic of conversation, all things supply chain, and really has been for the last 2 years. Our team has done a fantastic job of adapting and adjusting and rolling with the punches, so to speak, to do their utmost to ensure that the flow of products of great everyday needs for our customers continue to make their way into our stores. And as you mentioned, there's been no shortage of disruptions from the initial logjam of containers and container ships coming in from overseas and the delays that those caused, to that finally beginning to open a bit. And then we had the significant floods in BC, kind of disrupting a significant portion of road and rail infrastructure coming through Canada. In more recent times, certainly the significant increase in the price of fuel, the rolling lockdowns in China in certain cities and ports that have blocked things. So for us, change has been the constant, and agility has been the requirement and continues to be, and we don't see that lightening up in any way. Absolutely, we have had to lengthen our expected lead times, and certainly everything feeds off of when we'd like product in the store for the customer, particularly seasonal items. And so that creates churn and compression for our merchants, doubling up on their efforts to accelerate the timing of their buying calendar and the analysis of their assortment, and as they go out and find those great items. So it has and will continue to have an impact on our business for the foreseeable future. And our buyers do consistently look for alternative sources, and really, with a goal of finding the best product, providing the best value for our customer on our home products, our fashion goods, and with grocery. And within those different categories of our business, the pressures are different. The sources of supply are already different, and some are very centralized just from a worldwide production capacity perspective, that there are commodities that are only produced overseas in any significant quantity. And so we don't have ready options for some things. We certainly pursue other avenues for those things that we can. Certain areas of the business certainly are more broadly distributed across the world, whether it's into other areas of Southeast Asia, whether it's moving into Africa, into South America, et cetera. So
Mexico, are you hearing the vendors talking about Mexico and other places like that? Like when you sit down with the vendors, and they certainly it's not an isolated problem for them. They're trying to figure it out as well. Are you hearing more discussion about changes like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I think many across the world and the industry continue to explore. And the challenge is the ability to kind of light it up overnight is not easy, and it's not something that's going to switch on a dime, I don't believe, or turn on a dime. But I do believe it's something that everyone is really paying more attention to. You just see you mentioned the war in Ukraine and the impact there. The world is so interconnected. The consumer is so aware that even from a consumer perspective on where products are sourced, when some of these geopolitical things rear up or raise their head, that has implication on what customers are comfortable buying. They pay attention to where things are sourced, and so that does become definitely a consideration just for how you best insulate your business to some of those risks or potential risks further out down the road. So absolutely a area of constant discussion and exploration. Unfortunately, not one with many easy solutions, but
I think the world of immediate solutions is kind of past us, and I'm talking to leaders like yourself about, okay, what does it look like in 5 years, right? Is there a path, to get past the, today it's baby formula, tomorrow it'll be something else, right? But in general, what does that path look like ahead? Yeah, I mean, let's talk about e-commerce. So, industry took a bit of note when you hired Simon Rodrigue, who I know well from different. He's been in different organizations, very large scale, and I had a little chuckle to myself. He did a post on LinkedIn. He's looking for 125 people. No, I'm kidding.
Not quite that many, but yes, a few.
He's hiring. I mean, and you're hiring. So let's talk about e-commerce and the role. It's not new to Giant Tiger e-commerce, but what's your vision and what's your perspective on e-commerce and a value-based retailer like yourself and the system you're in with franchisees? That's an added layer of complication. But how are you now thinking about the role of e-commerce in Giant Tiger?
Yeah, e-commerce for us is just part of what retail is and what retail needs to be for today and tomorrow for our customer. And you've mentioned we've been involved in e-commerce for several years, a number of years, but really haven't fully executed on the ability to have it take hold and really become that integral part of our overall operation. And that's, Simon's mandate is to really take that forward. We were pleased to be able to have him join our team with his experience in that area, and has certainly off to a great start there. And, we just had some things we had to sort out and improve and correct on our operational side, but as well really clarify and simplify the user interface with our customer. And so we see it as, just opportunity lost today where customers are buying online and not choosing or exploring Giant Tiger for items they perhaps used to buy in our stores. And so we'd like to get our quote unquote fair share of that business, but it is still in support of our overall retail business. And we can't lose sight of the fact that even achieving industry average or above average percentages of customer spend on e-commerce, it still pales in comparison to the total volume achieved through the bricks and mortar network. And so it has to be complementary, supplementary, but it also to us opens the door for customers who are familiar with the brand, but perhaps we have yet to find the right bricks and mortar location in a neighborhood near them. And so we are really focusing on ensuring that our online presence at gianttiger.com really replicates the store and the values of Giant Tiger, the community connections, and all of those things. So we're working on some exciting developments there to really cement the consistency of the Giant Tiger experience into an online world, and then have that knit together with our store network and be supported across the board. And you raised the comment about the franchise system, and certainly we navigate that in a way that this will support and work with them as part of the overall Giant Tiger offering to our customers. It'll be another vehicle through which we can capture new customers and bring them into the brand, and certainly steer them into our bricks and mortar stores as well.
So during the COVID era, you were building a new head office. I think the plans were already set before COVID hit. You no doubt kind of adjusted those plans. So I just want to talk about hybrid work, because it, located in Ottawa, pros and cons. One of the downsides, I guess you could say, is the access to the labor pool is somewhat smaller. Talk about how you're rolling out the new office building, what it looks like today, and what your thinking is on the modern workplace.
Yeah, this certainly is top of mind for many folks as we try to navigate this post-COVID environment. And yes, we're pleased to have been able to get our new office construction completed during COVID. Actually, the construction teams did a great job and continued to work throughout. And so our employees have a wonderful new space to come back to as they begin to explore what coming back to the office looks like. But at the same time, the pandemic forced us or created the opportunity for us to reevaluate just how we work and how our teams work. And, we were able to keep things rolling in an online world and converting very quickly to a work from home environment for most of the support office staff. And our business is a mixture. Obviously, the frontline staff and employees in stores, team members in stores and in the distribution centers were in those roles, in those locations all throughout. And we, took all the precautions necessary. On the office side, it's been, again, kind of function-based. There's been need for merchants dealing with supplies and the marketing team with photography and using samples to produce the copy and the ads and the like. And so there's been a mixture throughout. But now as things settle out and kind of the work from home mandates have been lifted, we migrate into what we're calling work your way, allowing more of a team by team, function by function ability to find the right mix of that person-to-person collaboration, face-to-face collaboration, and the flexibility to support our team members and their needs and requirements on their own side. And so I think we are going to end up and pursue a hybrid model. We're seeing numbers of folks coming back into the office. And I think what gets reignited very quickly in those scenarios is the energy and the opportunities of being around other folks and working with other team members, and where it's not a case of a Zoom meeting, the agenda's finished and that one shuts off and the next one lights up.
Right.
Those more informal connections and the chats about ideas get fostered, and the energy that is generated from that amongst the team is palpable, it's noticeable. And so we're excited for that. We're excited for them coming back into the office. But this you mentioned Ottawa as a location. The onset of our more hybrid approach has actually broadened the labor pool for us as we've been able to hire, attract, retain folks from outside the Ottawa area that will join us and work and make their way here when they need to be here, and are able to be in a different location for other days when they're working remotely. And so that's actually been an added bonus for us through this, because before there was always that challenge of folks with partners that are working in one of the other larger cities. Ottawa is certainly a great city to live in, but population-wise, we're still relatively small, and that has actually opened things up for us. So we're excited by the prospect that brings, and it does force a different management style on our people leaders, and require them to really work with their teams and find the right balance that works. So we're continuing to explore that, and I think it'll work its way out over time.
Well, it feels to me one of the challenges of our time in terms of business and work is how to readjust this pretty tectonic change between everyone in the office. It's not exactly new, but not at the scope, right? And I guess you've got a very particular culture at Giant Tiger, so I guess that must be foremost in your mind around how to maintain that culture. You talked about the kind of great interactions between people, but is it your perspective perhaps that the key is culture and adhesion to the brand, and then how do we make sure, whether it's in the office or a third place, that culture informs all those decisions and the support of all the franchisees and all the operators out in the field, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have to be even clearer and more intentional as we onboard folks and bring them into the mix to be sure that we are communicating those key attributes and values that were established way back in the beginning when Mr. Reed began the company, and it really endured and need to continue to endure and be fostered as we go forward, and really unpacking the difference between how things are actually done and more adhering to doing things in the right way and keeping them simple and being proudly frugal, and those kind of core foundational elements, become part of everything we do and everything we talk about, and kind of reinforcing that. And then you'd be intentional about ways to continue to foster the engagement and the connection, whether that's periodic scheduled in-person get-togethers or town halls or meetings within the groups, or we've done webcasts with our stores. We actually probably communicated directly with our stores more regularly over the last 2 years than we would have in normal cadence. There would have been more face-to-face random visits, if you will, prior to COVID, but collective regular communication and updates. And so you have to find those different ways to deliver the message and build that connection in a different world. But the connection remains key to really fostering the alignment, the adhesion, and the camaraderie across the company.
Last couple of questions. Let's talk about what's next. Let's talk about growth. First of all, you've already indicated that an opportunity, for example, in e-commerce is to reach consumers who may not have access to a physical store. Maybe I can think of a downtown Toronto, for example, where there's vast amounts of people with less, so to speak, access. That's one opportunity is store growth. What other opportunities are you seeing in terms of category growth, or what's the playbook, so to speak, to continue to grow the business organically or otherwise?
That's the proverbial $1 million question for sure. It's kind of in all of the above, Michael. We've spent a good part of the last couple of years shoring up some of the foundational components of the business, really reigniting some of the disciplines and drive that need to be always on, and make sure that they were in the kind of the condition they need to be to support our forward growth. Organic growth with more sites and more locations kind of as they are is certainly still on the radar. The availability of real estate and sites that we would typically go into is probably not as broad as it had been over the last number of years. So, but we still pursue that. Opportunities within the four walls, within the merchandising areas, the category for category growth and agility across categories there. I think we still see lots of opportunity within that, in addition to just physical location, and then couple that with the digital expansion and the growth on the e-com side. And then beyond that, it's that's the next frontier we continue to explore. Are there other opportunities for growth? We still see certainly plenty of white space in Canada itself. And so we're working on a few ideas, a few options on really how to continue to tap into the Canadian consumer and get them, more of them visiting us more often and spending more money. It sounds simple and it sounds kind of cliche, but we do see opportunity for that to continue to happen. And teams are working on fine tuning our strategies and our approaches to be able to go ahead and achieve that.
Well, over 61 years, the business has seen a lot of different types of economic cycles, and you've done well in all of them. We may be heading into one where value-based retail has another moment. But as I said, you've operated the business in all kinds of different economic situations. There's always a market for well-priced, great value product, right? So that doesn't vary. Last question for you. Advice to the retailers listening with all your experience and what you've seen and how you're thinking about it. I'm going to frame it in a 2 starts and 1 stop. 2 things they should start doing and 1 thing they should stop doing. And the stop is kind of like, well, we used to do this and it's not working anymore. And that could be, it could be, social media, that could be influencers or whatever on either side of those start or stops. Well, how do you think about two things retailers should start doing and maybe one thing they should reconsider doing?
Thanks, Michael. That's a great question. I'll start with the two starts. And, again, I don't claim these to be innovative in any way or necessarily things that aren't already being done. But certainly over the last couple of years, the importance of both of these, I think, has been elevated. The first one would be the connection to the customer and really staying abreast of their needs and wants. They are changing, they're evolving. They don't really care how we have to go about doing something, but they're looking for that great service and those great products and great value every day. And so, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, and it'd be an easy thing for everyone to do. And it's not on the delivery side, but winning is only associated with getting that customer's heart and mind and making that connection. The second thing that I think really came to bear over the last little while and continues to be a core tenet of what we do, and that's the kind of the human side of things, the connection into the communities, into the areas of support. There's so much need across the country in so many different ways. It's really finding that niche and that ability and the ways in which you can contribute and support the communities in which we operate, the communities that produce our employees, produce our customers. And for Giant Tiger, the community connection and the involvement and support there at a grassroots level across the country has been critical, and to me, something that we will maintain and continue. And I just see the need is not getting smaller by any means, and so that would be another area that I would encourage continued focus and emphasis on. On the stop doing part, one of the team could tell you very well that one of the things that probably is one of my biggest pet peeves is where the response to potential innovation or question or challenge is, well, that's not the way we've always done it. And I think striking those words from our language is absolutely necessary to be able to continue to innovate and to drive success and solutions forward, both for the customer, for our teams, for our stakeholders. We have to be clear on, as I've said, clear on our values, clear on our foundational components of our respective strategies. But we do have to be open to ways to continue to innovate and to modernize our business and to take advantage of ways to improve it. And so that would be my stop doing.
Well, it's fantastic advice from an experienced retailer within an organization that's stood the test of time. And whether you're just a startup or whether you're in the same situation, I think it's great advice. Paul, thanks so much for joining me once again on The Voice of Retail. Once again, thanks for becoming RCC's 2022 Distinguished Canadian Retailer of the Year winner. I know you said on your skills, and on behalf of the team, it's a great achievement. So congratulations. And thanks for joining me on the Voice of Retail podcast. It was great to catch up, and I look forward to seeing you in person very soon and continuing our dialogue.
Well, great, Michael. Thank you so much for having me, and I really look forward to connecting with you and seeing you in person later this month as well. Thanks again for having me today.
Thanks for tuning into this special episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, be sure and click and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically twice a week. And check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast, Conversations with Commerce Next podcast, and the Food Professor podcast with Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Last but not least, if you're into barbecue, check out my all-new YouTube barbecue show, Last Request Barbecue, with new episodes each and every week. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of M.E. LeBlanc Company and Maven Media. And if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Have a safe week, everyone.